What's going on, ladies and gentlemen? Welcome back to the Fringe. Time to talk about Alberta again, and for good importance, because it's not just about what's happening in Alberta. This is the way politics are going to be run for the next little while, especially as we ramp up. We talk about Mark Carney pushing for an election, Doug Ford making everything about Trump. You now see that in Alberta, with the latest teacher strike, they're making it all about their constitutional rights being taken away from them. It's all about politics. It's really funny that during the Freedom Convoy, the also compassionate left were talking about how those who wanted to stand up against mandates were unfair for saying that their rights were being taken away. Yet when it happens to them, they want to come out full force and, preach that, oh, my rights are more important. Once again, rules for thee, not for me. We're going to talk about all that and why it's so important, because Nenshi has actually stolen and insulted from the Freedom Convoy today. It absolutely blew my mind. We're going to talk about that. But first, we have to get to this video's sponsor, Growing from the Ground Up. Huge shout out to this video's sponsor, Growing from the Ground Up. 3.5 years ago, Growing from the Ground Up started with one big idea: that Alberta's farmers deserve a fair way to get their food into your hands. They saw small family farms struggling to reach customers because the traditional grocery system had too many barriers. So they built something new, an online community where Alberta's farmers can sell directly to you. Think of it like a digital farmers market. Fresh, local, transparent, and built for the people who care where their food comes from. Their farmers don't rely on pesticides, hormones, or shortcuts. They rely on passion for the land, for their animals, and for feeding Alberta families with real, natural food. When you shop with Growing from the Ground Up, you're doing more than buying groceries. You're keeping Alberta's economy strong, helping small farms stay independent, and giving new farmers a reason to plant their first seeds. Even spending just $50 every 2 weeks makes a huge impact. Imagine 1,000 Albertans doing that. That's $50,000 going straight back into local farms, strengthening our communities from the ground up. Join the movement now. Support Alberta farmers. Build a food system that grows with integrity, transparency, and heart. Feed your family, fuel your community, grow Alberta. Just a reminder, folks, the link down below to their website, Growing for the Ground Up, is in the description right below this video. Go check them out. They're a fantastic company. I can't say enough good things about them. I'm very happy to be showcasing them this month on the channel. Let's get to the news about what's happening with Danielle Smith. So Danielle Smith has invoked the notwithstanding clause. She has ordered teachers officially back to work while hammering out a negotiation. Students should not be used as weapons to push politics and gain Naheed Nenshit his seat in Alberta Parliament as Premier. He's already got his seat, but seat as Premier. YEG Wave tweets out, breaking: Alberta Premier Danielle Smith has invoked the notwithstanding clause to pass back-to-work legislation requiring teachers to return to work. Classes are set to resume on Wednesday. Teachers who ignore the order can be fined $500 per day, and the ATA or its locals can face fines of $500,000 per day for illegal job action. So we've already heard the ATA trying to tell people, hey, don't go back to work. We need to make this all about the NDP and why the NDP needs to get in. Keep in mind, the ATA spent $1.1 million out of their money while they didn't have a strike fund for the teachers to push NDP political ads, yet they claim they're not political. I've said before how important it was that we stand by and support Danielle Smith. I think it's still important that we stand behind the Premier on this one. Again, this whole protest, this whole strike has been made political. You even saw these guys playing down the Alberta Independence rally, saying, oh, there's no way they could have had thousands of people. We had way more teachers out there. They paid for those teachers to be out there. They paid for all those people to be on buses to come out and try and pump up their numbers. There's even reports coming around that they allegedly used artificial intelligence to bolster their pictures. That's hearsay. I have to say that just because it's YouTube. Keith Wilson, super lawyer, coming out. Thank you, Danielle Smith, for putting kids first. Not all teachers support the union's political agenda, which is very true. If you follow accounts like Alberta Proud Dad, you'll notice that he's been talking with a number of teachers who say they didn't even stand with the strike. They didn't want this strike. It's being used as political gain. And furthermore, they're not allowed to state their opinions of fear of losing their jobs. Keith goes on to say using the notwithstanding clause blocks the union from delaying the kids getting back to class. Of course, you have Danielle down here putting out a video. Today, we announced Bill 2, the Back to School Act. If passed, the bill will put student learning first, ensure our children return to the classroom on Wednesday, October 29th. I know my kids will be heartbroken. And legislate a fair, reasonable collective bargaining agreement by Alberta teachers. She goes on to say, let's highlight the entire thing here, because the money is important. This is where you know this whole movement was political. On top of the $8.6 billion to build and modernize 130 new schools, this deal will ensure $70,000 to $119,000 salaries. So the minimum teachers are getting on the rung is $70,000. Keep in mind, they turned that down, yet the premier is still offering it. Very generous. I would have told them to kick rocks. She's offering 3,000 extra teachers, 1,500 more educational assistants. She says, we know there's more work that needs to be done. See the letter to parents here. Let's take a brief minute to hear what Danielle had to say.
My fellow Albertans, tonight we want to speak directly to our province's parents and teachers. On behalf of your provincial government, we want to share the steps that we've taken today to get students and teachers back in the classroom, and why we must now take action to prevent further learning loss for our students. Beginning in early 2024, the Teachers Employer Bargaining Association, or TEBA, and the Alberta Teachers Association, or ATA, began negotiations for the 2024 to 2028 bargaining contract. The initial ask from the ATA was for a 35% wage increase for teachers, and the Government of Alberta's initial position was an 8% increase. The two sides met regularly over the next year, eventually reaching what would be the first of two tentative agreements on April 2025. This offer extended teachers the same 12% general wage increase agreed to by nurses. The tentative agreement also included competitive pay increases to keep pace with what teachers earn in other provinces, and hundreds of millions of dollars in supports for classroom complexity and sizes, with teachers providing a great deal of input into how those dollars would be spent.
So the UCP government is listening to teachers. They've made that very apparent. The funny thing is that you got QP and the other unions that are in bed with the NDP stating that, well, now we're going to tell firefighters and everybody else to go on strike, healthcare workers. All of them are going to go on strike because you used the notwithstanding clause. This is how you know it's all political. The most insulting thing to come out of all of this, as the left melt down, because they've been told, hey, you can't just do whatever you like. You got to get back to work, is Naheed Nenshit coming in. This look familiar? Is this not the biggest insulting thing you've ever seen? Let's look at his useless tweet. Again, this guy has never put forward a single policy recommendation. He's never said what he would do if he was premier. All he's done is play the blame game and say how rotten Danielle Smith is. I can tell you, as somebody who lived in Calgary for 30 years and lived under Nenshi's mayoral regime, I know the destruction that he causes. I know the taxation he pushes on people. His spending is out of control. I can tell you he definitely contributed to our decision to have to move out of Calgary because it was unaffordable, thanks to him and failed woke mayor Jody Gondak. He goes on to say the erosion of Alberta's rights is so wrong. Watch live as Alberta's New Democrats and I push back with your help. We're holding the line. Are you frickin' kidding me? Puts out a big ad. We're holding the line. We're standing up to the UCP government's abuse of power. They literally steal from the Freedom Convoy. You know, the protest that they've all said was unacceptable. Small fringe minority with unacceptable views. In fact, two of our Canadian heroes are now placed under house arrest unfairly for doing nothing more than attending a protest. this pig at a trough goes in to steal their branding, their notoriety, as if all of a sudden, oh, well, it's okay for, this is where I say it's bad for you guys. You know, you guys should have to sit and, lose your rights. You shouldn't be able to speak. You shouldn't be able to say anything. But when we need to use your words, when we need our rights back, when we're upset that our rights have been taken away, when we're told we can't do whatever we like, well, that's okay. No problem. I literally threw up in my mouth when I saw this. There really is no line that these guys won't cross. You can see the lefties breaking down. You've got Corey Hogan outside on Twitter going, Albertans, if we have a problem with what's happening, we need to make our voices heard. Properly staffed classrooms override constitutional rights. Here's the Alberta UCP. Like, the left can't meme. They have no level. I'm literally sitting here losing my words. Because I can't understand how anybody can be so brainwashed as to follow these political parties into elections, onto the steps of the legislature, into the House of Commons. What are we doing as a country? Why are we supporting this childlike high school behavior from our politicians and political leaders? Danielle Smith seems to be the only premier in this country that's focused on actually doing her job, while the others are playing partisan politics, blocking projects, running millions of dollars in tariff ads, poking at the United States, our biggest ally and trading partner, by the way, all so that they can gain their position to either keep their seat or move up in power. We've seen it with Doug Ford as he's used Donald Trump as a tool. We're now going to see it with Mark Carney use it as a tool once again, should a federal election be called, to try and convince those who have Trump derangement syndrome that, hey, it doesn't matter about my bad policies. It doesn't matter about my lies, my conflicts of interest, my spending, my theft, my scandals. None of that matters, folks. The only thing that matters is Orange Man bad. Naheed Nenshi is pulling the same trick in Alberta. Danielle. Oh, she goes down to Mar-a-Lago. Oh, she talks to Trump. Oh, she's terrible. Get rid of her. Get her out of here. I'm very hopeful that Albertans are not as stupid as federal voters. I sincerely hope that Albertans who watch this video stand behind their premier and stand behind Danielle Smith. What we're seeing in our country right now is a political shift. And we have to decide, is this the time that we dig our heels in the sand and push back, or do we stand back and once again become complicit with those who wish to tell us we're unacceptable and our views have no place in this country? Let me know what you guys think down below in the comments. Do you agree with Danielle sending students back to school and telling the teachers, hey, you're not buying into political bias anymore? Let me know your thoughts down below. If it's your first time here, I hope this video's earned your subscription. Make sure to hit that button. Join me live here on the channel each and every Wednesday and Friday night. Aside from this Friday, I'll be away for Halloween because, once again, kids come first. But we'll do a Thursday night stream. So Wednesday and Thursday this week, 6 p.m. Pacific, 8 p.m. Central. Join me here on the channel. I look forward to chatting with you guys in those live streams. With that said, ladies and gentlemen, I hope you enjoyed this video. I hope you have a great rest of your day. Go check out Growing from the Ground Up, and I'll catch you on the next one.